Hey, it's Father Taylor. I'm actually back. So great to be back after a really wonderful vacation. Kitty and I got to spend 4 or 5 days just being in Jerusalem, which was really wonderful. Except that I mean Jerusalem, the one that's across the channel from Galilee in Rhode Island. Her brother's got a house right there on the beach. So we got to spend 4 or 5 days. She was working remotely all day, and I got to hang out and I did a lot of fishing, walking up and down the beach. There's some great restaurants. I got to cook a lot, which is one of my favorite things. Some of my nephews and nieces got to come, so it was really great. So it's a great time to be on vacation. Then we went out to California, out to where my daughter used to live in Pacific Grove. We spent a few days there just because we love that town and being on the water in California. And then we went up for the great first and foremost, the major dance recital by my 4-year-old niece. So it was about a 90-minute program in which she and those 4-year-olds with their tap shoes were about 6 minutes. Well worth price of admission. So it was a great time, great vacation. Thanks to Amanda, who was doing these announcements while I was gone, and really for the whole staff, Amanda and Carol and Ed and Paula and Kathy and everybody who does there's so many people that really are involved in making our community kind of holding some of that administrative parts and keeping things together so that we can really worship as a community and be a community. So a couple of things just to talk about, just a few things I want to talk about. My first Saturday back, last Saturday, we had an event which we do once a month. It's a kind of a trial worship that's aimed at families with younger kids. It's not, you don't have to be a younger kid. We have people that have no kids at this point in their life, but they still come. It's an outdoor like barbecue. We take about 15, 20 minutes to do like a modified worship of which kids are heavily involved. And we got to hear a lot about, well, in fact, I was ready for my sermon on Sunday. And then when I heard these kids make the analogy to some stuff they all knew very well from Harry Potter, that's when I shifted my sermon. So anyway, so that's coming up again at the end of August. So if you want to check that out, or people with kids that like to come, the kids love it. I mean, because they come, they run around, they hang out together. We do some very focused kids activities, and it's a cookout. And last time we had lots of ice cream. So we thought about calling that, should we change the name to Ice Cream Church? But Ice Cream Church sounds too much like just like a focus on little kids event, but it's really like for families. So it's a family event. So I'd like to ask you, so you should come to one, or if you can picture us sitting up on the green with the grill in the background, some chairs. We did the Eucharist, but we basically just were community. If you think about it, what would be a really cool name that would invite people to be be like a name like, wow, I wonder what that is. I'd like to go. If you got some ideas, send me a text and we can brainstorm, come up with the right name for that. We keep experimenting we're trying to make that work. The fact of it is, as you guys will remember, people have been here a long time, will remember that years ago, there was an attempt to come up with a service for families whose kids were playing sports all weekend. And that's how in the years before the plague, we used to have a 5 o'clock Sunday service. And although that service was aimed at families with kids, by the time I got here, the only family with kids that came were the Lobos. So we're trying to reinvent, like how can we reinvent something where we know that Sunday is no longer like the day where only church happens. Everything, if you don't already know this, everything happens on Sunday. And then people want to close down what they do on Sunday by about 1 or 2, because now they got to get everybody ready for the week. So Sunday has become a very super busy, highly scheduled day of activity and rest and sports. So if we know that everyone's busy, I wonder where else can we form community, build disciples, and worship the Lord together on what other night? So right now we're working a little bit with Saturday night, making it kind of like a meal, but we haven't quite finalized that. So I'd love to get some input, about that. Okay, here's some other things that are coming up. Tomorrow night, Saturday, we partner a lot of our events with the Terriffill Village Association. Right on the green, not in our parking lot, but down on the green, we'll be having an outdoor movie, which is kind of fun. And tomorrow night's movie starts at 6:30. So if you just want to go to a movie, I would suggest you bring a lot of cold drinks, maybe what do you call that, a cooler, ice up and be ready. But there's at 6:30, we're co-sponsoring with the Terriffill Village Association, showing a movie on the green. A great way to meet people, so which is always part of what we do as disciples. We're always looking to who might be the next person the Lord is bringing me in contact with for a reason. So anyway, that's tomorrow night. Other things that are coming up. So some of you are really handy with tools, and what you look forward to is something in your house breaking down so you can fix it. I don't know how it happened, but my son is like that now. When I was with him this recently, he's moving where the lights are in his garage, and he's always building shelves and other units, and he's rebuilt his whole backyard. So some people love to do that. Well, August 20th, you could help a family build their house. So there's a half-day event put on by Habitat for Humanity coming up on August 20th. And the person to contact for that is Kathy Oakes. So you'll see the information about that in the text part of our eBlast. So that's coming up. But as they say, as Ron Popeil used to say around the Ginsu knives, I want to tell you about some other things that are coming up that you wouldn't have thought of about going to that I'd like you to consider. How about this one? August 27th, 28th, down in Bridgeport. You go like Bridgeport? Yeah. What, hour and a half away, tops. Down in Bridgeport, there's a big event that's called City Fest. Now, it's sponsored by, I can't tell, maybe at least 50 churches in the area are sponsoring it. And they're doing it in conjunction with the Louis Palau Association. So what they're doing is they're taking over a park. They have 4 or 5 of people who are like big in the Christian music industry coming. They have speakers, they have games, they have all kinds of stuff going on, lots of free merchandise. And they have opportunities for people to hear the gospel and for people to pray to receive Jesus. Now, I haven't been to an event like this in years. I really haven't. But I'm just like fascinated with, what does that look like? Do people come to that? Do people actually find Jesus in that? Do churches really work well together? Which is always an issue. But I think that'd be and here's one of the best parts. Admission for this is absolutely free. So I'm hoping that some of you think about, and I'll have Carol put in the text, a link to that website, but you can find it at cityfest.org, and it's got everything going on there, even ways to volunteer if you'd like. So I'm fascinated with that event because, part of what a church is for is not just to be a place that for an inner circle community, but a community that builds and reaches out, a community who, as these guys say, the idea is like to bless the city, to elevate the life and help people thrive in a city. So that's fascinating stuff to me. I think it'd be interesting to go down there 27th, 28th, and to see what's going on, even if you just stayed for, a couple of hours, and then you drove back through New Haven, stopped at one of those like 4, major pizza places. However you do it, just toss it out there. August 27th, 28th, cityfest.org. Check that out. We have a ton of stuff coming up for fall, but I want to tell you that what we're doing now is, after having maybe 20 leaders work at full speed during with no breaks during COVID to keep things going, we've decided that I think what we really need to do is to figure out, what is God calling us to do this year, and to make sure that we focus our attention on that. And right now, for me, the irony is me, as I'm a guy that started a church that didn't look like a church. When I was in a regular church, I was always trying to do like the thing that nobody else did, whatever that might be. And I'm telling you, the key to life, the key to not just your faith life, but your living by faith in this world and the next, the key to that and purpose and how it connects to your job and your family, the key to that is not just believing in Jesus, but becoming a disciple of Jesus. It's taken me many years I knew about discipleship the whole time, but I always thought that went a different way. I'm telling you, that's the deal. Read Psalm 1, you know, planted by the rivers of living waters, bringing forth fruit in due season. That's the key. And so I know that some of what we will do will be focusing on those basic things that build community around discipleship. So even though it's summer, we're all being called to rest, relaxation, enjoying the heat, but also, Lord, what are you calling me to, and how do we go deeper? So we have some things that are coming up. First of all, I think that we continue to talk about our service time. We've been meeting for 2 months now at 9:00. And for the folks that have come, the verdict has been people really get a lot out of this. It's not as early as 8. It's a little early for some. It's a little busy for some. But in general, the fact that we can meet at 8, we're out by 10:15, and then we have time for fellowship. We also have time for discipleship and teaching and all kinds of things. So if you come at 9, you're still getting home, at 11:30, and having kind of a really great experience of community and church. So for August, we're going to continue meeting at 9, and as we move toward September, we'll talk more and more about how can we make the best use of our time. We really have to build and rebuild our community from the 2 years of COVID. We're still some people we haven't seen. They haven't seen them for a while. Some folks who were on Zoom got zoomed out. And some folks got used to, I think, enjoying Sunday morning and brunch and just haven't been. But, we're building and rebuilding community. That's a real focus we're doing here. So church is at 9. Another event that we are joining and combining with some area churches. Here are the churches we're combining with. Avon, Valley Baptist in Avon. Valley Brook up here in Granby. Valley Simsbury. So all those 3 are connected to Valley and Avon. The folks over at Wintonbury and the folks at the Barn, those are the major people sponsoring an event which is coming up in late September, September 23rd, an evening event, and 24th with workshops. We're going to put that out there too, so you can see it's still developing. But it's a time to get together on Friday night. Will be just to get all these churches. It's I think 13 churches coming together for a time of worship. And then the next day, there will be 8 workshops, of which you can pick 4. And so there's a morning session with 4, and it has all these workshops, and you get to pick which ones you go to. It's not a strenuous day, but here are the workshop titles. I don't have them in front of you. I'll tell you what they are. Some are about discipleship and edge of things, cross-cultural communications, human trafficking, mental health in our area. It's all very practical stuff put on by these sponsor churches, of which, as it turns out, we're going to be one of them. And it's going to be an interesting event, because let's say that you have a real heart for something that we just don't have the critical mass to really get behind here at Trinity. Well, by combining with these other area churches here in the Farmington Valley, you can get really caught up in, issues of the day, whether it's homelessness or mental health issues, or dealing with human trafficking, or dealing with discipleship, or how do we reach people for Jesus. There's these really great topics of which we'll be having some workshops around, and the ability to connect with other Christians. So you go from our only resources are us to our resources are all of us. So fascinating event coming up in the end of September, September 23rd and 24th. So I'll just leave you with that much for today. It's kind of a mouthful. So we talked about Sundays at 9, and this Sunday, thanks for a person volunteered to sponsor our coffee hour. We'll have a coffee hour in the air-conditioned area after church. So service is at 9 through August so far. Then Saturday night, on the Green, 6:30, movie night. The movie is that famous movie, which is, I never liked it, but it's iconic. now. It's called Sandlot. And I think that's the movie that great line is in that all younger people say to each other all the time, "You're killing me, Smalls." So that's a great movie just to be able to hang out, meet some other people, enjoy some time outside. That's Saturday, service at 9 on Sunday. And then coming up, if you're interested, we have Habitat for Humanity coming up August 20th. Right after that, 23rd, 24th, I believe it is the 27th, 28th, next weekend. That's the City Fest down in Bridgeport. Just so you can go there and explore that and come back and tell us what you thought. And then we have a whole bunch of stuff going on in September, among which is the one I'm telling you about. That I'll have Carol put in the bulletin so you can check that out. Put that in the eBlast. All right, great. That's a lot of stuff, but great to be back to know the Lord with you guys and to observe community, praying together, and living our lives for the sake of Jesus. All right, have a great day.